Today on the Topping Show, Bud Light CEO has a meltdown during an interview and may even rehire Dylan Mulvaney. Google drops sponsorship of an anti-Christian drag event. Feds claim that Florida property ban won't stand. Costco to crack down on membership sharing. Volvo is the latest auto company to adopt the Tesla plug. Apple inches forward towards a $3 trillion evaluation. DraftKings dropped the bid for Point Bet. And Yamaha is killing their snowmobile division. All that and much, much more on the Topping Show. Thank you for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see the founder at least twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner and need a little assistance, you reach the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Other really fascinating cultural news, you have Google canceling Pride and Drag Show events, which is a first. If you look up on the Google, or rather on the YouTube, which they own, they actually hired many popular drag queens, the men who dress up as women with those, well, I don't know, all this vernacular is new to me. They hired many of those people to talk about Google security, which I sell cybersecurity. My company does a lot of cybersecurity services for Topping Technologies. Maybe we need to work on our marketing, but we've never thought about hiring someone who has no experience with cybersecurity at all. A person dresses up and dances. It's almost as dumb as when I was a kid, I saw Brandon Kutcher doing an advertisement for Nikon cameras. You're an actor. What do you know about photography? Nothing. You're just a pretty face. The same could not be said about the drag show performance or the act with cybersecurity, but if you look at the ratios on, they have the plugins where you see how many people disliked it, it was very unpopular. And of course, they had to disable comments, which is the sure sign that something is garbage if they're too afraid to leave the comment section open. I always leave our comment section open on this channel, partially because I appreciate your feedback. Another great example of the channel getting better over time. We got some improv teleprompters of my monitors in front of me so I could try to keep a little more eye contact, and that came because of some critique in the comment section. So when someone disables the comment section, I'm always immediately suspicious of what they're hiding, or why are they too afraid to debate their ideals, which is another sign of someone is certainly wrong. Now, Google is dropping sponsorship of a myriad of Pride and Drag Show events and sponsorships after they got a petition signed by hundreds of workers who noted that it was a direct affront to the religious and sensitivity of Christians. So the religious beliefs and their sensitivity representation of Christians in a pejorative way. Now, this is unprecedented in business as well as Google in general. Google is very much more on the left side of the political aisle. If you look at where I believe last analysis of what political campaigns they donate to, it was like 98% of the donations were for people on the left side of the political aisle, which that's not a very prudent business decision in my opinion. If you look at many traditional businesses, they'll donate to people on the left and the right of the political aisle because that way they have favors on both sides and kind of hedge your bets, so to say. Kind of like very similar to betting on both sides of a Super Bowl team. But this is the first time they've actually acquiesced from some of these events because their employees are saying their religious beliefs. It also shows you some of the diversity of Google. They have more employees than you possibly fathom. Probably more employees than most countries have in population. But people have this idea that it's a far left company. They only have people of one thought train. But they do have many people, in fact, who have religious affiliations and beliefs. And it's interesting that we're starting to see this now because this has never happened before. Ever. Partially because I think a lot of employees are too scared for their job security or persecution. Because traditionally, if you say you're against something, like let's say, for example, if you're Christian or Catholic and you don't believe in a certain activity or a certain flag, you're immediately labeled a bigot, you're evil, you need to be re-educated, which is a fancy way of saying brainwashed, and something that should scare a hell out of everyone when you hear that term because, yeah, 1984 was a very underrated book. But traditionally, they would be ostracized from society, usually fired, Because again, right now there's no, and I'm one of those people where I think there should be much less involvement when it comes to governments and businesses. But the one protected class in terms of being able to fire someone, it is political affiliations. Now, you could probably make an argument for religious freedom in terms of if you look at political affiliations and religious freedom or religious beliefs. I think you see more people on the right being much more Catholic, Christian, conservative, and more on the left you see less religion in general, which I think that'd be a fair assessment again on average. So they might be able to kind of sue a company if they fired him for X because they brought Y. But some of those interesting things where we're starting to see some companies backpedal. Now, in this specific instance, this was a protest against an event it was the San Francisco Pride event, which very low impact. There's like 12 people left in that city. Like every business is leaving in droves. It's probably about half the content you've seen for the culture part of this podcast is the businesses leaving fervently for a myriad of reasons, but they are self-inflicted. It's the culture they make. It's the culture they vote for. You get what you vote for, right? It's one of those things where time shall tell if the trend turns around and businesses are attracted. It might make it. We'll see. And again, I appreciate you staying with me. I know some of the feedback that I've gotten from the comment section is I derail a little bit and a little bit of ADHD rather. I try to always keep it specific towards the topic that we're on, but I am aware of that just as I'm trying to aware of how to use my tone inflection a little bit better. So I appreciate the comments that you leave because it really does help the channel grow and develop. Now, getting back to the specific instance in San Francisco Pride event, it featured a drag guy. I don't know if they didn't say it was a queen. I thought they were all queens. Again, all this is new terminology to me. Apparently it's a drag queen by the name of, I'm not joking, Peaches Christ. Big red flag in terms of if you just have the word Christ in it, probably religiously affiliated. And of course, yeah, it's a pejorative representation of Catholicism, which for the past 50 plus years seems to be the punching bag of every cliche joke. It's actually the only thing it's culturally acceptable to make fun of. Now, critics noted that this person sexualized and disrespects Christian values and accused Google of religious discrimination for sponsoring the act. So this is interesting. Maybe in the past 12, 13 months, drag has embraced more mockery of Christian Catholicism beliefs. You saw this with the LA Dodgers sponsoring the ADHD, but pertinent, I think. Yeah, the LA Dodgers, where they actually had a pride event that was giving an award to the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which quite literally is people in drag dancing and stripping on the cross, the crucifix of Jesus Christ. So that maybe that's why you're starting to see some of these pushback, because it's more religious. But again, we only know this because of an internal memo that leaked from Google, and now they're no longer publicly sponsoring. They probably still give them money, but it's also no longer on the internal employee bulletin, which fascinating to think like 10 years ago, or maybe 20 years ago, businesses, like in terms of employee camaraderie and events, you'd have maybe a chess club or a fishing club. And it's interesting to see this cultural shift to these other activities. But again, I wonder, Google has thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of employees. Why now are they starting to shift? They have enough money. They can just pay these people off in terms of if the lawsuit comes, they'll just sell outside of court. They have billions of dollars in cash, or trillions actually. So why, from a cultural perspective, is Google starting to move a little bit? And again, it's not even an inch. It's a millimeter more towards the middle. And is this part of a bigger trend, culturally speaking? That's going to be the fascinating thing to look for in the next couple of months. And this even happened during Pride Month of all months, which again, from businesses on LinkedIn and all over, you're seeing pull back a little bit on these initiatives. Partially, I feel, because many of them are not authentically believing in these things, which I find I despise charlatans and two-faced people and companies. If you believe for something, stand for it and follow through on it. My 3 cents. I know it used to be 2 cents, but inflation, 40-year high, it's been rough. I just want to especially thank everyone for taking the time to tune in today. This is our 100th episode, and I really appreciate everyone taking time to like, subscribe, and comment. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of July, and I think we can do it together. and every like, subscribe, it all helps out exponentially. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone to stay safe and fight the good fight.